When it comes to female psychology, the biggest mistake men make is assuming women desire the same things they do. Men think if they provide endless comfort, constant attention, and make themselves completely available, that will win her over. But the reality is, that approach often has the opposite effect. Instead of being drawn to you, she begins to lose interest, because the very things you think are winning her over are the same things draining the attraction out of the interaction. Women aren't moved by words alone, or by how much effort you can pour into chasing them. What really influences them is the way you carry yourself, the confidence you project, the boundaries you set, the mystery you maintain, and the energy that makes them feel like they need to earn your time. It's not that women dislike affection or attention. It's that they lose respect for it when it's given without any challenge. Let's make this clear with a simple scenario. Imagine a man who finally starts dating a woman he's been interested in for a while. From the first day, he makes her the center of his world. He cancels plans with his friends for her. He answers her texts immediately every time. He compliments her non-stop, and he's always available whenever she wants something. At first, she might enjoy the attention, but very quickly she begins to feel the energy shift. What once felt exciting now feels predictable. What once gave her a sense of desire now feels too easy. Instead of appreciating all his effort, she starts to drift away, leaving him frustrated and confused. That's the essence of today's topic. Women don't want what most men think they want. They don't want a man who hands over his entire life to them on a silver platter. They want a man who understands how attraction really works. And in this video, we're going to break it all down step by step. 1. Attention turns them off when it's too much. Men often believe that the more attention they give a woman, the more she'll feel valued and attracted. They think constant compliments, non-stop texting, and making her the center of their world will prove their worth. But in reality, too much attention has the opposite effect. It suffocates attraction. What begins as flattering quickly becomes overwhelming. And instead of wanting you more, she starts pulling away. The reason is simple. Attraction thrives on space. When a man showers a woman with endless focus, he removes the very tension that makes her excited. There's no room for her to wonder, to chase a little, or to feel that spark of curiosity. Everything is already laid out for her, and while men see that as dedication, women often experience it as neediness. Think about it. When something is rare, it feels valuable. When it's overly available, it loses its shine. The same principle applies to attention. A woman who receives it non-stop stops appreciating it because it's no longer special. This is where many men sabotage themselves. Instead of letting the relationship breathe, they smother it with attention. They check in constantly. They text before she's had a chance to respond. They give compliments so frequently that the words lose weight. What they don't realize is that their effort communicates insecurity. It tells her, I need to keep reminding you of me, because I'm afraid if I don't, you'll forget I exist. And nothing kills attraction faster than fear and desperation. A great way to see this in action is through the movie 500 Days of Summer. In the story, Tom is deeply infatuated with Summer. He places her on a pedestal, giving her constant attention and affection, believing that this will secure her love. But instead of drawing her closer, it drives her away. She becomes less invested while he becomes more desperate, creating an imbalance that eventually ruins their connection. His attention wasn't the problem. It was the excess of it that smothered the spark. For men, the lesson is clear. Attention must be measured, not endless. It should be meaningful when it's given, not something she can take for granted. That doesn't mean ignoring her or playing games. It means showing that you have a life, that your world doesn't revolve around her, and that when you do give her your focus, it carries real value. Women don't lose attraction because men notice them. They lose attraction when men lose themselves in the process of proving their affection. If you want to keep her interested, learn to balance attention with mystery. Give her space to miss you, and make your presence feel like something to look forward to, not something that's always chasing after her. 2. Being available 24/7 kills desire. One of the easiest mistakes men make when dealing with women is making themselves constantly available. At first, it feels like the right move, always answering her texts right away, always saying yes to her plans, always adjusting your life to fit into hers. You think this proves your dedication, but in reality, what it communicates is that you have nothing else going on, and nothing kills desire faster than a man who appears to have no life outside of her. When you're available every second of the day, you remove all sense of excitement. There's no anticipation, no build-up, no space for her to miss you. She doesn't have to wonder what you're doing or where you are, because you're always right there, ready to respond. At first, she might enjoy the attention, but eventually it becomes predictable, and predictability breeds boredom. Here's the key. Women are attracted to men who have purpose. A man with goals, direction, and things he's working on will naturally not be available all the time. He can't be at her every call because he has responsibilities, ambitions, and priorities that matter to him. That doesn't make him neglectful. It makes him valuable. She respects him more when she sees that his world doesn't revolve around her alone. Now think about how this plays out in real life. You've probably experienced situations where you dropped everything for a woman, only to notice she didn't appreciate it the way you thought she would. Maybe you canceled plans with friends or rearranged your schedule just to be with her. And instead of rewarding your effort, she became distant. That wasn't an accident. It happened because she saw that you were willing to sacrifice too much of yourself for her attention, and it shifted the balance of respect. Men often misunderstand what being present means. They confuse availability with commitment. True commitment doesn't mean answering the phone every time it rings or rearranging your life to be at her side 24/7. It means showing up consistently with strength and reliability, while still maintaining your independence and identity. If you're always available, you stop being a prize. You become routine, expected, and taken for granted. But when you protect your time and prioritize your goals, your presence becomes something she looks forward to. Instead of you chasing her availability, she starts chasing yours. The message here is simple. Stop thinking that being around all the time is the path to attraction. It's not. Attraction needs space, it needs room to breathe, and it needs the excitement that comes from a man who has his own direction in life. If you want to keep desire alive, don't hand over all your time. Show her you value yourself enough to keep building your life, and she'll respect you more for it. 3. No boundaries equals no respect. One of the biggest reasons men lose a woman's attraction is their lack of boundaries. When you allow everything to slide, when you bend to her every demand, when you tolerate behavior that goes against your values, you're sending a clear message: you don't respect yourself. And if you don't respect yourself, she won't respect you either. Boundaries are not about being controlling or harsh. They're about showing where you stand, what you will accept, and what you won't. Women test men in subtle and not so subtle ways. They want to see how solid you really are. If you fold under the smallest bit of pressure, she instantly knows you're not the man she can truly trust or admire. Think about times when you've cancelled your own plans because she called last minute, or when you laughed off something that actually bothered you just to avoid conflict, or when you let her decide everything, even though you didn't agree, because you thought it would make her happy. In the moment, it feels like you're doing the right thing, but over time, she starts to feel that you're spineless. And no woman respects a man who can't stand his ground. Picture this. A man who's dating a woman notices she constantly texts him late at night, expecting him to drop everything and come over. At first, he agrees every time because he doesn't want to disappoint her. But soon, she starts treating him like an option, not a priority. Why? Because he showed her that his time, his sleep, and his life don't matter as much as her impulses. By not setting limits, he communicated that his world revolves around her whims. And once that happens, respect starts to vanish. The reality is, women don't lose interest because you enforce boundaries. They lose interest when you don't. A man with no limits is forgettable because he's too easy to manipulate. But a man who calmly stands by his values, who isn't afraid to say no, and who makes decisions that reflect his priorities, he earns lasting respect. Many men avoid boundaries because they're scared she'll leave. But here's the truth. If a woman leaves because you respected yourself, she was never truly interested in you to begin with. On the other hand, If you let her cross lines without ever pushing back, you're the one guaranteeing the end of her attraction. Boundaries aren't about pushing her away. They're about protecting your worth. When you respect your own time, energy, and principles, she sees a man she can actually look up to, and that respect is the foundation of real attraction. 4. When everything about you becomes predictable, women don't lose interest overnight. Attraction doesn't usually vanish in a single moment. More often, it fades slowly when a man becomes predictable. At first, everything feels exciting. Conversations flow, the energy feels alive, and she can't quite figure you out. But over time, if you settle into patterns that never change, you strip away the curiosity that kept her drawn to you. Predictability feels safe, but it doesn't create desire. When she already knows what you'll say before you say it, when your responses are always the same, when your actions follow the same script every single time, she stops feeling pulled toward you. There's no anticipation, no mystery, no reason for her to lean forward and wonder what might happen next. Think about real situations. Maybe you always text her at the same times of day, using the same type of language. Maybe every date you suggest follows the same formula. Or maybe you always react the same way when she pushes your buttons, never shifting, never surprising her. At first, she might see that as consistency, but after a while, it becomes background noise. You're there, but you're not exciting her anymore. The problem is that many men confuse being dependable with being predictable. Dependability is attractive. A man who shows up when it matters, who keeps his word, who remains solid under pressure, that earns respect. Predictability, on the other hand, drains energy. If every interaction feels rehearsed, it signals that you're not dynamic, that you're not evolving, and that she's already seen all there is to see. This is why women sometimes drift away even when nothing bad has happened. She doesn't always leave because of an argument or a betrayal. She leaves because the excitement dried up. And often, the man doesn't even realize he's been slipping into autopilot the entire time. The solution isn't to overcomplicate things or act like someone you're not. It's about bringing variety into how you show up. Not because you're playing games, but because you're a man who keeps growing, trying new things, and expressing himself in different ways. That unpredictability makes her pay attention. She doesn't know exactly what's coming next. And that uncertainty is what fuels her interest. If you've ever felt her energy shift, if you've noticed her being less engaged, it's worth asking yourself whether you've become too routine. Do you challenge her emotionally, or do you keep giving her the same version of yourself? Attraction thrives on novelty. If you stop evolving, she stops feeling pulled toward you. A man who understands this doesn't cling to patterns that make him easy to figure out. He stays steady where it matters, but never lets himself become stale. And that balance is what keeps her attention locked on him instead of drifting somewhere else. 5. She doesn't want to be the leader. Have you ever noticed how quickly attraction fades when a woman feels she's the one steering the relationship? The moment she starts carrying the responsibility of leading, the balance shifts. Women might enjoy making choices here and there, but deep down, they don't want to guide everything. They want to feel your strength in the way you make decisions and set direction. When a man constantly defers to her, always asking, "What do you want to do?" or waiting for her to set the pace, he might think he's being considerate, but what he's really showing is indecision. Over time, she begins to feel like she's in charge, and once that happens, her respect for him starts to erode. Respect and attraction are connected. Once respect fades, desire doesn't last much longer. You can see this dynamic clearly in the movie Titanic. Jack didn't wait around for Rose to decide everything. He took initiative, invited her into his world, and set the tone. Rose was drawn to him not because he gave her control, but because he carried himself with certainty and direction. Imagine if Jack had sat back quietly, letting Rose decide every step. They never would have shared that powerful connection. Now think about your own experiences. Maybe you found yourself always asking her opinion before you make a move, or letting her dictate the pace because you were afraid of pushing too hard. At first, she might go along with it, but eventually she starts seeing you as passive. And passivity is the opposite of what builds attraction. Women test men for this exact reason. They'll push to see if you can hold your ground. They'll throw out suggestions or challenge your decisions, not because they want to dominate you, but because they want to feel that you're strong enough to lead. If you cave too easily, you fail the test. If you hold steady, she relaxes into her role and feels more secure with you. Leadership doesn't mean controlling her or silencing her. It means guiding the relationship with confidence while leaving space for her voice to matter. Women want to feel like they can trust the direction you're moving in. If you step back and make her the leader, she may take charge out of necessity, but her attraction will fade as she does it. So here's the reality. She doesn't want to be the leader. She wants to feel that you can take the weight off her shoulders, that you can set the tone, that you have the vision and strength to move forward without hesitation. If you step up, she respects you. If you don't, she'll eventually look for a man who will. 6. Approval. Seeking makes you look weak. Nothing drains a woman's attraction faster than a man who constantly seeks her approval. When every action you take is followed by, "Did you like that?" or "Are you happy with me?" you're showing her that your confidence depends on her validation. And once she feels that, she can't see you as the strong, grounded man she truly desires. Approval seeking often starts small. You might ask her if she likes your outfit, if she's happy with the date spot you chose, or if she thinks you're doing enough. At first, it might seem harmless, even polite. But over time, it communicates that you don't trust your own judgment. You're placing her opinion above your own, and that shows insecurity. A woman doesn't want to carry the weight of constantly reassuring you. She wants to feel that you know who you are without her approval. Think about how this feels in real life. If every time you make a choice, you immediately look to her for validation, what message are you sending? You're telling her, "I don't believe in my decisions unless you confirm them." That's not attractive. It's needy. And neediness always pushes women away. Men often confuse approval seeking with attentiveness. They think they're being considerate by always asking if she's okay with everything. But there's a difference between being thoughtful and being dependent. Thoughtfulness comes from strength. You make decisions with her in mind, but remain confident in yourself. Approval seeking comes from fear. You're desperate to keep her happy because you're scared of losing her. The harsh reality is that when you put her opinion above your own, she begins to lose respect for you. She might still care about you, but she no longer sees you as a man she can rely on. Instead, she starts to feel like she's in charge because you're constantly looking to her for direction. And once she feels that dynamic shift, attraction weakens. Here's where men need to wake up. Women are not looking for perfection. They don't expect you to get everything right. What they respect is decisiveness, confidence, and the ability to stand on your own. If you choose something and it doesn't go perfectly, that's fine. It shows you're human. But if you refuse to make choices without her approval, you show her you're not built to lead. So stop asking for constant reassurance. Stop trying to win her over with every little decision. Trust your instincts, take action, and let her see that you believe in yourself. The men who hold their frame don't need a woman to confirm their worth. They already know it. And that quiet confidence is what keeps her respect and her desire alive. 7. Comfort. Without challenge ends attraction. Comfort feels good. It feels safe. But in relationships, too much comfort can quietly kill attraction. Many men don't realize this until it's too late. They settle into routines, stop growing, and assume that once they've won her, the work is done. What they don't see is that attraction requires movement, energy, and a sense of challenge. Without those things, it fades. Here's the reality. When everything becomes too easy, she stops feeling that spark. If she knows you'll always agree, if she knows you'll never push back, if she knows you'll never surprise her or inspire her to step up, she loses the sense of tension that keeps desire alive. Attraction thrives on polarity. The push and pull, the excitement of not having everything figured out. Comfort without any edge removes that completely. This is where men need to take an honest look at themselves. Are you coasting in your relationships? Do you avoid conflict just to keep the peace? Do you stop pursuing your goals because you think being with her is enough? If so, you've slipped into a place where you're no longer challenging her or yourself. And that lack of growth makes you less magnetic over time. A woman doesn't want a man who creates chaos, but she also doesn't want a man who is so safe that he's boring. She wants to feel that being with you pushes her to stay engaged, to stay alive in the relationship. If you never challenge her, she will eventually start looking for stimulation elsewhere, not always in another man, but in other parts of her life that bring back that energy you stopped providing. Here's the constructive criticism you need. Stop mistaking comfort for strength. Too many men believe that if she's comfortable, everything is fine. But comfort without challenge means stagnation, and stagnation kills respect and attraction. If she can predict your every move, if she feels no growth from being around you, she will lose interest, no matter how much she once cared. The action you need to take is clear. Keep evolving. Don't let the relationship be the peak of your growth. Let it be part of your journey. Stay on your mission, pursue your goals, and don't be afraid to challenge her when necessary. If she's slipping into behaviors that don't align with your values, call it out. If you disagree, say so with confidence. That friction isn't a threat to the relationship. It's what keeps it alive. Attraction isn't about keeping everything calm and easy forever. It's about maintaining the balance between security and challenge. Give her comfort, yes, but give her the edge that makes her feel she has to keep showing up as her best self. That's what keeps respect alive. That's what keeps desire alive. We've covered 7 truths about female psychology that most men never learn. From giving too much attention, to always being available, to losing yourself in comfort, these are the silent killers of attraction. Women won't always say it out loud, but they don't want the version of you that bends, pleases, and waits for approval. They want the version of you that stands firm, keeps evolving, and never hands over his power. Here's something controversial to sit with. Women don't fall in love with the man who makes life the easiest. They fall in love with the man who makes life the most alive. And if you're honest with yourself, ask, have you been giving her comfort at the cost of excitement? Have you been too predictable, too available, too eager for her validation? If so, it's time to wake up. Your next step isn't about memorizing tricks. It's about building yourself into a man who doesn't need approval, who leads with certainty, and who keeps his edge no matter how long he's with her. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever fallen into these traps without realizing it? Drop your stories in the comments. I'll be engaging with as many of you as I can. Let's make this a real conversation.